So we'll be talking today about various topics like built-in data types, algorithms, algorithm analysis, efficiency, and complexity. To start with, what are the basic data types that we are using in C programming, and apart from that, why they are used. So why data types are used is basically due to these reasons. First of the reason is to identify the type of the variable, means which type of variable we are declaring and using in the program. Then we also work on with the type of the return value of a function. So we need to identify the return value of a function, as well as the function can take an argument or parameter. So in order to identify its type, the data type are being used in C programming. So what are the built-in data types? We used to have primary data types, which are like void, integer, character, double, and float. Then we have derived data types, and then we have user-defined data types. These are present in C programming. So in built-in data types, these are basically data types which are available in the language itself. So we have integer to define integer variable, character, double, and float to define character, then decimal point, and then decimal point with less precision. Then we have something which is called as void. Void is representing nothing. So if function is not returning anything, so it can be void. So that is how void can be used. Its return type can be void. So void can be used as the return type of a function, as well as it is also used in various other locations, like in dynamic memory we used to have void pointers. So there also the void data type is being used. Then we have arrays, which are homogeneous collection of elements of same type. Then we have pointers. These are also part of derived data types. Derives are referred as derived because they derive their properties from the inbuilt data types. Like we have an array of integer. So an array is dependent upon which type it belongs to, like which particular built-in data type it belongs to, whether it is an integer array, character array, or double array. So pointers are also based on these data type variables. Like a pointer is a variable which is pointing to the address of another variable. So based on the variable to which it is pointing, its data type is being decided. So integer pointer can point to an integer variable. Similarly for other data types. So that's why it is also derived, because it derives its properties from the built-in data type variables or constants. Then we have user-defined data types. These are being defined by the user. So examples are structures, union, and enumeration. Structures are basically used to have a collection of data types which can be inbuilt or derived based on different types of data we need to store and work out with. Similar is the case with the union, but the difference between structure and union is that in structure we used to have separate memory locations for different data members, but in case of unions, at a single point of time, only one member out of the collection or out of the structure of union can be using the memory and can be utilized at a particular point of time. Other members need to be stored memory at a later time and can be used at a different time. So at a similar point of time, we cannot use all the elements of union simultaneously. So as per that, the memory requirement of union is as per the current element being accessed or the highest element of that particular group in which different data items are being used, or different types of data items are being used. The next is algorithm, which is a step-by-step procedure which defines a set of instructions to be executed in a particular order to get the desired output. So all these three parameters are important. Like while defining an algorithm, we used to have a set of instructions which are to be executed in a certain order and in order to produce the desired output. That is how we can define an algorithm. Then algorithm can be a finite sequence, in another word, or is a well-defined computer implementable instructions which the computer can implement to solve a class of problems or a specific problem, or to perform a computation. This is an other way of around defining the algorithm. An example of algorithm can be anything, like suppose we are making a cake out of a cake box mixture. So based on that, we can have our own process in which we can prepare that particular cake, or we can use the steps which are given in the back of the box to create that particular cake. So this can be also an algorithm. Other types of algorithms can be like, suppose you are calculating the greatest out of 3 numbers. So there is a step-by-step procedure based on which you can perform that operation. So that can also be said as an algorithm in programming sense. Then we have analysis of algorithm, how we analyze the algorithm. So analysis means basically investigating the running time and the memory requirement of an algorithm, because whenever we write a program based on an algorithm, so program needs to be efficient in terms of memory and running time. That is the requirement from the end user. So running time is amount of time required to execute that program, and memory requirement or memory or space requirement is how much memory the program requires in order to execute. So that is all is considered as the parameter for analysis of the algorithms. Then so when we talk about running time, it is referred as time efficiency, and when we talk about the memory space, so it is referred as the space efficiency. So how fast an algorithm runs or how much memory space algorithm requires. So as we increase the size of the input also, it will affect the efficiency, because more inputs will result into longer execution time. So based on that, it can also be varying. Then we have another way around to measure the effectiveness, or while designing the algorithm, we can analyze the algorithm based on these things. First is the effectiveness, then we have correctness, and then we have termination. These are the other measurements for analysis of algorithm. Effectiveness means how it is easy to understand, how much time it is required to perform tracing, and third one is logical execution, whether it is well organized or not. So all these are terms under the effectiveness of an algorithm. Then correctness says that the output which is expected from the program, it should be correct and as it is required. So third thing is termination. Termination says that the algorithm must end with a finite number of steps. Like there are steps of execution which contains the ending also, like end statement of a particular program. That should be there. It should not run into infinite loops or memory out of memory problems or infinite values. So these should not be there in order to have that algorithm execute properly and should terminate properly. So that is the termination requirement. Then units for measuring the running time. In order to measure the running time of algorithm, generally what comes in our mind is we can measure the running time in terms of seconds and minutes. But these should not be the measures, because as we switch on different computers with different architectures, the seconds and minutes might vary, because the speed of the computer can be slow, or the quality of the program that we are implementing on that system can also be affecting its running time. So from here we can understand that the seconds and minutes are the measures which should not be used to analyze the running time of an algorithm. So how we can measure it? We can do the operation of counting the number of times each of the algorithm's key operations are being executed. So that can be one of the possible ways. That's it for today. We will discuss more in the next lecture.